We got this from Citizen Free Press. Actually, Robbie mentioned it to us before the show. A clip from the Joe Rogan Experience where he says, quote, on the left, this want for war in Ukraine, this trust in the military-industrial complex. What happened to you guys? The best take on it was Trump. He said, I just want people to stop dying, and that is somehow controversial. Joe Rogan hit the nail on the head with the hammer with this one. I was thinking about this earlier. The left and the right switched. Totally switched. You got this Oliver Anthony guy playing the song about the working class, lamenting the rich corporate elites ripping off this country, ripping off the workers, and these wealthy Uber elites in big cities, the highest income earners in the country, demanding we pay their debts for college. Total inversion. Before Trump got elected, we viewed the Democratic Party as the party of the working class. Today, that is absolutely not true. Vox.com ran the story in 2016. The Democratic Party became the party of wealthy elites. The party switched, and now they claim you're right wing. It's like, okay, well, I'm anti-war. I'm pro-free speech. I'm pro-individual liberties. I oppose massive multinational corporations. Corporations, I think, are horrifying. Now, all of a sudden, the left, pro-big pharma, pro-military industrial complex, pro-war. They go, I'm not pro-war. I just think we should be
pro-censorship.
Pro-censorship. Right. All of these, it's a complete inversion of what the parties were when I was growing up.
Well, the most insidious thing about it is they do control every major institution of power. They do control the administrative state. They do control big pharma. They do control the entertainment industry and so on and so forth, Silicon Valley. But they're able to portray themselves as the perpetual, eternal victims. And that's how they're able to scapegoat Donald Trump as an elite, as the enemy, as someone who doesn't have the interests of the working class on their side.
I don't think so anymore. I think it's changing.
Absolutely is changing, and the paradigm has shifted considerably as a result of Donald Trump.
And Trump is doing better in the polls now relative to where he was back in 2019 compared to Biden.
Sure.
So he's actually now winning. It doesn't mean a lot because between now and election, we got a year and a few months. It's an eternity. But I think what's happening in my personal, I can only give you an anecdote. I have friends and family. Their friends and family, I'll go to dinner and I'll be like, having dinner with my friends, and then I'll see their family members. Year and a half ago, totally on board with the corporate narrative.
Yeah.
And we'd have these discussions, and I try to be very cordial. I'm not here to rent anybody's parade. Look, we're just going to have some macaroni and cheese. We're going to have macaroni and cheese. I'm not going to talk about this stuff. But if they bring it up, I'm going to open the door. Year and a half later, what are the conversations like? Now they're moderate, anti-corporate narrative. Now they say things that have me going like, how did you go from there to, wow, all right. There are these really fascinating moments where after we talk, and I show them like, actually, that wasn't true. Like, don't take my word for it. Like, here's a news story. They go, oh, I didn't realize that. And I'll be like, look, I'm not telling you what to think. Jeez. Now a year later, they're like, I don't like Trump, but wow, did they lie to us?
Well, you look at Democrats in Congress. I mean, 20 years ago, when there were obviously major a lot of the political establishment was on lockstep with the Iraq war, but nothing in comparison to what you're seeing today with Ukraine. I mean, there were anti-war Democrats who voted against the war in Iraq. Obviously, Bernie Sanders now you look at his actions today. I mean, I don't think he's said anything critical about how the Biden regime is handling. They're basically signing over blank checks to the Ukraine, over $200 billion. I haven't heard a word of any Democratic congressman who was originally against the Iraq war criticize what we're doing right now in the Ukraine. They're totally a uniparty. They're one step. They're lockstep on the war issue, and they're obviously just a few years ago, Bernie Sanders was the one criticizing the Koch brothers and their agenda on immigration, wanting open borders and so forth. He was very critical of that. Now, totally 180. You never hear him say a word about it anymore.
The world
or anyone.
He got the memo. He's not supposed to.
The World Socialist website called Bernie Sanders a nationalist capitalist.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Would we be at war if Trump was in office with Ukraine? I mean, with Russia?
Not at all.
You think it would have been
the reason why? We weren't at war with Russia and the Ukraine while he was president. I take him on faith. I know a lot of people don't like it when he says, I would have brokered peace within 24 hours. I'll get peace within 24 hours. But, I think under Donald Trump, we had the most world peace, in generations of any president. And now since he's left politics, it's created a vacuum there. And now we have the most, chaos in the global situation and the global scene that we've seen in decades. I mean, now we're actually talking about World War III as a viable possibility. We're talking about, using nukes again. We're talking about Russia and Putin potentially using nukes in the Ukraine to protect their own interests there in that region. So, it's just night and day how much has changed. I mean, I remember Donald Trump when he first got into office, actually prior to even going into office, when he met with Obama about a couple of days after
Can you
he
get
had
Donald Trump
won.
to FaceTime right now?
We'll see if he'll call in. We'll see if he's listening. But I remember Trump saying that during that meeting with Obama, that Obama said the toughest thing you'll have to deal with is North Korea and the weapons they were shooting off at that time. And Donald Trump accomplished something that no one ever thought would, that no one ever believed would be accomplished. He actually walked into North Korea. He actually brokered peace and diplomacy with Kim Jong-un.
Him and Dennis Rodman, too.
Yeah, absolutely, with help from Dennis Rodman. But no one ever anticipated
Dennis Rodman.
that.
I mean, no joke.
That's
you use whatever resources you can to negotiate peace in that way. But
Trump crossed into actual enemy territory with no security detail. Incredible move.
I mean,
and he gets attacked by the left for it. So this is it. I mean, I view the left as fundamentally tribalist, and whatever we describe as the right, it's not even conservative. You have post-liberals.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a whole bunch of liberals who are traditional liberals who are now called right-wing, even though they completely disagree on a bunch of core political issues. You've got a bunch of people who are considered right-wing who are pro-choice, who would agree with moderate liberal and Democrat voters on the issue of choice were it not for the cult tribal behaviors these people exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Republicans would win almost every election if they were pro-choice.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Okay. I think the issue. All right, go ahead.
I think that the Republicans as a brand have been so damaged in the popular culture that I think that the Republicans overall probably aren't going to survive another 10 years. I think there'll be another name for the party. You look at the way that the establishment Republicans and the way the MAGA Republicans, they're very different. They want different things. I feel like and because of the way that
the Democrats are similar with like DSA and neolibs.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the Republican brand in like popular culture has been so damaged. You get people like the Daily Show every night of the week doing everything they can to discredit any idea that's Republican or that comes from a conservative.
I'd actually be more inclined to believe the Democrats are the party that will disintegrate.
No, I'm talking.
You're talking about the old
brand
old
name
brand.
Republican.
I know.
Yeah.
And you think the name Democrat will first?
Yes.
No, I doubt it.
Because there's a lot to break down here, right? And that's why you said when it comes to when it comes with the abortion thing, if Republicans are pro-choice. No, I honestly agree with that. I think the left, these liberals, people who vote Democrat, don't have any policy positions. We invite these people on the show, and then I'll say like, hey, I'm personally pro-choice. And, I think there should be how we traditionally had it, a certain leeway within a few weeks. Then they say you're pro-abortion or they say you're pro-life. They call me pro-life. And I'm like, I don't think you have any real positions because all you're going to do is say whatever the opposite of what I'm saying is. And I don't see how that survives. When you have 9 million Obama voters switch to vote for Donald Trump, when you have Trump doing better and better and Trump being fairly moderate. This is by Vox.com standards, not Fox. Vox, V-O-X, the leftist Vox website said Trump was a moderate. What I see here is young men becoming more conservative. It's more, there's a bigger social path on forming on the right for young men. I believe this will create a social pressure on young women to move right, just like we see with marriage. I think for cultural reasons, like the success of the song Rich Men North of Richmond, the success of Sound of Freedom, the failures of Bud Light, I don't think over the long period, if this trend continues, that Democrat is the thing you're going to want to identify as, because even Democrats say they don't like Democrats. Now, don't get me wrong, Republicans say they don't like Republicans, but Republicans have actually gained tons of ground with the Freedom Caucus, with libertarian candidates that are in the Democratic Party, which gives people, I think, more ground to stand on when it comes to, hey, if Mitch McConnell retire. When these Democrats were chanting retire to Mitch McConnell, Trump posted it on Truth and said, yes, retire, agreeing with them.
See, right. I think that speaks to kind of my point. Like, Trump Republicans are not the establishment Republicans. No. And I think that the reason I'm saying this is because I think of dudes that that are in the music industry that I talk to that are completely and totally isolated from like this world, right? They're totally in the bubble. They totally like California brain, their entire world. Like I'm the only person they interact with that doesn't have the same political opinions, right? And it was a couple weeks ago, I'm sitting there listening to them talk about like Satanists and stuff, and it's like the way that they think of it is the way that like me and my friends used to think of like Christians in the 90s. Like they're talking about like if there was something that happened that Satan is like, there was some satanic imagery and the religious right had kind of got all up in arms about it, and they were mocking the religious right. They were going at him, and I'm just like, I feel like there's so many people in popular culture that still have a negative opinion of anyone that's a conservative, Republican, blah, blah, blah. And I think people like Sam Smith, that like his and the imagery that he used, and Lil Nas, the imagery that he used, like all that stuff is still very anti-right. I feel like the left still has the popular culture.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.